So when I was waking up, they were like, "You're getting your period. You're so disgusting. You're so dirty. As soon as you wake up, you're supposed to go get in the shower. Not when you're in your period." And first of all, we're talking about them using surveillance that affects me, my health. So they said, "Well, you had a doctor's note saying that referred you to a gynecologist." I did a sonogram. I had a vaginal sonogram, and they found cysts, which were caused by this. And they said, "Well, you didn't go to the gynecologist." I had tried to make an appointment, couldn't get an appointment. Then I was dealing with this. You guys know this because if you've been following this channel, I've detailed it. I put the medical reports and told you what was going on. So you guys have been following. So they said, "You shouldn't have said you had nothing to hide." Do you get what I mean? How that is? So all of a sudden it's like, "I'm going to get you. You shouldn't have said this. You shouldn't have done that." That's the Stasi, but they're the ones causing these issues, which gets them to admit that I do have these issues. I'm not faking it. They said I was going to be like Scamanda or something like that. I'm not scamming anybody. So then they were like, "Oh, you're not gonna do this. Why aren't you reacting? You're crying." I'm not crying. Look how I wake up. So imagine you see the external. You should definitely, if you're interested, look at the medical reports to see what's internally happening to me. So they're like, suddenly it's about a shower. Then it's about this. Then it's about that. What happened to what they acknowledged? They're using surveillance, and I'm telling the world, their surveillance made me sick. So I was supposed to be crying. I was supposed to be so upset. I'm such a highly emotional person, blah, blah, blah. I am not. So it's definitely coming from above, and it's definitely coming from the surveillance that they've created. So then they said they want to come down and knock on my door. Are you guys going to finally admit you're the ones who vandalized it back in 2023? That was in May, and they said they do things based on anniversary. So it was like years later. So May 2023, they vandalized my door, and I had that up already. A lot of this, you guys who've been watching me know, because I've been telling you, they had an issue for years that they want me to constantly be washing my personal areas. Disgusting. Because like you guys know already, they're doing this to me. So they said this is how they get people to go to the gynecologist. They've admitted it. They said a lot of the people in their group always have some sort of vaginal issues. I did not before all this. I even put the pap smear results up. So meaning I have proof that the way I've been handling my body has been fine. It was fine for decades, until they came up with the surveillance technology. So you guys have already seen this online, my gynecologist results from before this was happening. So suddenly now they're the experts on me. So I should take advice from them, who started this out as the voices, the little voice in your head, that once they got caught, turned into the harassment. Then once they got caught, vandalized my door, stole this, stole that, to put me out in the street, live, what I'm saying and doing in the privacy of my own home. So I should be taking hygiene advice from them. They're the experts suddenly. So what they were trying to do is say that, well, why didn't I go to the gynecologist? You guys already know what's been happening. I've been to doctors. Well, we don't know. This is that. All sorts of craziness. I've taken care of a lot of things on my own, and I'm getting better. They don't want the world to know that a lot of the conditions they create is to get you to go to the doctor, and the doctor will say, well, so you should still go to the doctor, but I'm not going to go to the doctor because the little voice in my head, which is out loud now, said so. I'm going to do it when I'm ready to deal with it. They said, oh, this went so wrong already. It's okay. It's all right for things to go wrong in life. This is the other part of my argument with them. They want to make it seem like I'm some celebrity. They're talking every 5 seconds about celebrities. I'm not a celebrity. I'm a real regular person. And everything they say, oh, this went so wrong. It's not going wrong for me. It's going wrong for the people doing this who got exposed. They said, I shouldn't have said that my neighbors sublet. When you show me the video where I said my neighbors sublet, I said no one is supposed to sublet in this apartment building and in River Bay. I never said my neighbors sublet. Stop lying. You folks have to really, you should be going to the doctors. You should be going to the psychologists and psychiatrists, because you guys are lying. And they lie so much that when they see like pictures in my thumbnails, they're upset by it. Why should reality upset them if they're so smart, if they're so accomplished, if they have access to the worst type of technology to surveil people ever? Because that was the point. The point was to use this technology to sexually harass people, to sexually abuse people, to extort people and blackmail people. And they exaggerated about what this technology is capable of achieving so that people would pay out. Just pay. They watched you, pay them. And I'm saying, don't expose them. Expose every single one. So they said they're the officer friendly. They said I shouldn't have put their names out in the street. You yelled your names out in the street. So maybe you should have known the people who were helping you get this done. The extortion, the blackmail, what other crime? Extortion, blackmail, identity theft, voice cloning, scams, sextortion, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, so many other crimes. Actually expose them. They don't want to talk about that part of it. See, part of what went wrong, I guess, is that once you, yeah, that's true. Someone just said criminals make strange bedfellows. I think it's, then someone else said, what, no honor amongst thieves. They actually exposed each other. Because think of it this way, if you have a crime like this that you could do to an innocent person, then you could turn on and tell what you know about the guilty person. So when they're trying to say, well, I'm always crying, that's not who I am. So we become like, why would you involve me? Because I was supposed to come out in front of this and say, they're doing this, they're doing that, oh my goodness. Instead of saying, listen, this is what they can do, this is what they can't do. These are my life stories that they're trying to steal and twist. Here's the proof that that's a lie. Here's the proof that this is a lie. They even said, they're no officer friendlies, or they're the police or whatever. The police wouldn't lose their jobs for me. It wouldn't be worth it. So when they said I should be afraid of blah, 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 that's partially goes back to the high school incident, doesn't it? I want to talk about that, and then I'll go right back to what the people above did and the people nearby did, because you could hear they're not on the technology, so it's just them shouting, which is how they were going to cover up the V2K technology, which is a big deal. So to cover up the V2K technology, they just moved crazy people around me to shout things out and not deal with this the way it should have been dealt with. Anyway, that goes back to 1991. Someone said, even at the time, why? What is this about? Even at the time, what is this about? We're talking about 35 years later, and people are still saying, what is this about? It's about gangs. I wasn't in a gang, but that mentality, like, you are now with us and you can never leave us. If they said it, they said the mindset of we, but it's the us thing. It's us against them. It's you or us. So when they keep talking, but I'm going to try to ignore them. If you're not with us, then you're against us. If you're not around, then us doesn't exist. It's that idea that us has to stay together like this. So when we ask the question in school as children, I consider 16, 17-year-olds, they're still kids. And we didn't understand, what is this about? A 52-year-old me, a 53-year-old elementary schoolmate should be asking the same thing. What is this really about? And I'm going to answer what this was about. It was about trying to take over. They said, why did I use the terms us and them? Maybe I think that could have been in 2018, 2019, because it's about taking over. And by that time, this was already starting. And by that time, I could see that there's something going on that other people are picking up on, that I'm picking up on, that people are trying to take over. And when you start to say, I don't want to be part of your we, there is no us, and I have that right, and people force you to be part of an us, they've taken over. And every time I fight to say, listen, this is happening. You can't force people to be part of any sort of criminal act. It's illegal. This is illegal. People are like, well, no, I don't know if that's when you know it's over. When people can't say this is definitely illegal. The thing I wanted to get back to is they're trying to cover up the V2K with just neighbors yelling stuff. People I've never met. They say, well, why are they not my family? I've never met you. Who determines my family? Me. You can't just bring strangers around me and say, that's your family. Do you know what that is? They said, that's a gang. Exactly. So when we're talking about, they needed somebody in this who had a background in gangs or some sort of criminal organization. I don't. My family doesn't. So to create the parents of that, they just put in Black people. We're all looking. I've been in the street looking at other Black people like, what the hell is going on? What is this? Because they don't know and I don't know. We didn't live through this type of thing. So I'm going to see if this even came out on live, because they've been snatching my lives and taking them off the air. They come out, I get no real comments. So I don't know what's going on. But it's important that you guys know the truth, that when they're creating medical issues for you, and someone said, didn't you go to the hospital after that? Yes, meaning if there was an ongoing issue with me medically in that area, I would be the one to know before them. But in order to take control and make it an us thing, it's like I know what's going on in your personal areas, in your personal space, in your personal life, and that would make us. They just said it. That would make us family. We're not. These are gang stalkers, and I'm exposing gang stalking. Thank you for watching.